to another episode of Alien Agenda with Colonel Gene. In this episode, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial and emotionally charged aspects of the extraterrestrial phenomenon, alien abductions. Today, we explore the stories of individuals who claim they've been abducted and subjected to strange medical experiments by extraterrestrial beings. Are these experiences genuine? And if so, what is the purpose behind these abductions? Here's Colonel Gene.
This is Colonel Gene with another edition of Alien Agenda. Today we will take a look at people who not only believe that extraterrestrials exist, but who claim they have been abducted by them. Nothing about the alien agenda has so much emotion and skepticism as alien abduction. The reason for this is understandable. If the experiences of those who claim they have been abducted and taken to a spaceship is true, it is very disturbing. All of the accounts portray humans being taken without their will and approval, with no ability to resist what happens to them. In most cases, the memories of the abductees is blocked to prevent their conscious recollection of what took place during these abductions. Many of the people have agreed to try and unlock their memories by the use of hypnosis. The majority of the alien abductions involve some interaction with human reproduction. Some claim they had their sperm or eggs taken, while others claim they had direct sexual contact with their abductors. What is the alien agenda for these abductions and medical examinations? Why do so many involve reproduction? The answer that comes to mind for many people is a possible crossbreeding of aliens and humans. Today, with our medical technology, we can produce what is often called test tube babies. It is not hard to conceive that one possible reason for these revelations about sex and reproduction is to produce an alien-human hybrid. We have employed our technology and knowledge to help people that claim they were abducted by aliens to recall what took place during these incidents. Researchers have used hypnosis, polygraphs, psychological analysis, and studies to help unlock the truth. The federal government has set up a registry of people who claim that they were abducted as part of the expanded UAP studies. Let's look at some of the more well-documented claims of alien abduction. The thought of being taken against your will to a spaceship and undergo physical examination is truly a very chilling thought. Here we go, and let's look into some of the alien abductions. Thousands of people all over the world say they have been abducted and examined by strange-looking creatures. One of the most well-known accounts was about Betty and Barney Hill. On September the 19th, 1961, this couple was driving home from their honeymoon in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. They felt for a while that they were being followed, and at some point they saw a ship floating above their car in the air. The car eventually was surrounded by a bright light, and then both of the couple blacked out. When Barney and Betty awakened, they found that they were in their car, driving down the road, but that more than 2 hours had passed. Upon arrival at home, they noticed there were some marks on the fender of the car. The zipper on Betty's dress was damaged. A strap on Barney's binoculars were torn. And in addition, their watches had stopped working, and Barney's shoes were scuffed. The couple decided to keep the incident quiet, but they both had reoccurring nightmares about that night. Finally, they decided to seek professional help from a Dr. Benjamin Simon, who put them under hypnosis and recorded the sessions of these examinations. They stated they were taken to a saucer-like craft, like gray beings with large eyes and large heads. They were guided into this metallic disc by these gray beings. Betty Hill later drew a diagram of the ship they saw and to which they were both taken. Both said they were placed in separate rooms and underwent physical examination. During their examination, the beings removed their clothing and they were laid on a metal table. They took strands of their hair, clippings of their nails, and scrapings of their skin. These samples were then placed on what they described as glass slides. Needles connected to wires were used as probes on their head, arms, legs, and spine. One large needle between 4 and 6 inches long was inserted into Betty's belly, which was very painful. During the exams, an alien that Betty called the leader watched from the side of the room. Later on, when the recordings of these hypnotic sessions were played for Betty, she became terrified and extremely agitated. The Harvard Gazette reported the case of Mark H., who clearly remembered being awakened one night, unable to move, with the exception of his eyes. He claimed that he had a titillating feeling and saw flashes of light and heard buzzing sounds. His bed was surrounded by non-human-like beings, and under hypnosis he recalled being levitated out of his bed. Mr. H. recalled going through a window of his home and taken to a spaceship. He claims while on the spaceship, the aliens had sex with him. After this encounter, Mark said they returned him to his bed, and he said that the experience was terrifying as he felt totally helpless to prevent this abduction. In 2001, a Roger McCarty said he was abducted from his home in Alaska and that aliens implanted a chip in his left leg. Some 20 years later, Mr. McCarty decided to consult Dr. Vander Gravensway, a surgeon. He said that the chip was emitting a radio signal. The doctor decided to scan his leg, where he claimed the implant was located, and found that yes, the leg was sending out a signal. He measured the same place on the right leg and could not detect any signal coming from that leg. They decided to have the left leg x-rayed, and sure enough, they located what appeared to be a 3-millimeter object under the skin. Roger asked the surgeon if he could remove the chip-like object from his leg. The doctor said he could remove it and proceeded to take the chip out of Roger's leg. The doctor placed the chip in a specimen jar and gave it to Mr. McCarty. There are no reports of any analysis, however, of the chip that was removed from Mr. McCarty's leg. On October the 11th, 1973, an encounter called Pascagoula alien abduction took place near a riverbank when Charlie Hickson and Kevin Parker Jr. came screaming into the Pascagoula, Mississippi police station, claiming they had been abducted by aliens. This incident is the subject of a book entitled Beyond Reasonable Doubt. Sheriff Fred Diamond and his deputy Glenn Ryder interviewed these two men within hours of this incident. During the interrogation, the two men were left alone for a time and were secretly recorded discussing their ordeal. Deputy Ryder thought the story was a hoax until he listened to the tape that was secretly recorded. After that, he believed what the two men told them about their experience that night. Both men also passed a polygraph test about this encounter. The sheriff confirmed that several people in the area saw UFOs that night, in the area where the two men claimed they had been abducted. Some of the witnesses actually came to the sheriff's office, including a pastor, Emmanuel Seiglas. From the hypnotic regression of Calvin Parker came this description of the creatures. They were gray-like, and the skin looked like an elephant, about 5 feet tall with long arms, and the one that examined him had some hair. He believed the creature that was examining him was female. There was a second creature standing in the corner that looked very strange, with a sharp mouth, nose, which was very close to their mouth. He claimed that he was on a glass table and could not move anything except for his eyes. They took blood samples from both of these men, and after they returned from their ordeal, both men had puncture marks on their arms, similar to what you would see if you gave blood. The ugly alien got up and dressed Barker, and he then became agitated and attacked the alien that examined him. The ugly alien restrained him and gave Calvin something, and he went limp. Next thing the two men knew is that they stood by the river. Two researchers at Harvard University set up an experiment to determine if the experiences of abductions by aliens would be similar to those experienced from trauma such as combat or surviving a deadly automobile accident. Richard McNally and Susan Clancy, professors of psychology at Harvard, recruited 6 women and 4 men who claimed they had been abducted by aliens. Under hypnosis, 7 of the subjects claimed they had their eggs and sperm extracted or had direct sexual contact with the alien abductors. Recordings were made of each of these sessions and were later played for each of the subjects. They were played in the laboratory of a Scott Orr at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Manchester, New Hampshire. All of these tapes, when played for the people, had a very dramatic response. They recorded their increase in heart rate and also measured the sweat in the palms of their hands when listening to these recordings. The response of the abductees was then compared with 8 people that experienced trauma unrelated to an abduction. These hypnotic sessions were also recorded, and when they were played for the 8 people in the trauma study, they found that the responses were exactly like those of the people who claimed they had been abducted by aliens. The only difference was that the reactions by the people claiming abduction were even stronger and more pronounced than the group that experienced non-abduction related trauma. It was clear from these physiological studies and observations that the people who claimed they were abducted by aliens truly believed these experiences. There are many other stories about humans claiming they were abducted and examined by beings not of this world. It is likely that some of these accounts are fabrications, but in many instances, with the use of hypnosis, it appears the individuals do believe these encounters and that they revealed about that experience. This is yet another issue surrounding the basic question: are they out there? Again, I hope this episode has piqued your interest and that you will tell your friends about our journey to learn the truth about UFOs. Don't forget, we welcome guests that had UFO experiences to contact my publicist, Deborah Wallace, if they are interested in being interviewed on Alien Agenda. This is Colonel Gene signing off. Until our next episode, and please stay safe.
Childhood friends Sam, an engineer, and Ben, a neurosurgeon, discover a time-traveling vortex in a cave near St. Jose. With their girlfriends, they journey to 1919 and attempt to stop Adolf Hitler from rising to power, leading to an adventure that drastically alters history and their lives. A World Without Hitler by Gene P.A.